Hey guys, I'm Lonnie.
And I'm Lisa.
And this is
aWHOLEmom.
Okay. So today we're not doing a whole episode. We just want to provide you guys with a few updates.
Yes.
Check in and go from there, okay?
Yeah.
So my friend, how are you today?
Well, I'm good actually. I'm last week I was like super emotional, super overwhelmed. Yeah. It's a thing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
I think a part of it is I've started this new birth control and like I started at a weird time. So my period is trying to like re-regulate and it's just, and I'm emotional.
I feel you.
That's just really the best way to put it.
I've been going through some waves of emotion,
Yeah.
but not necessarily like negative or bad. It's just like I've been like I'll hear a song.
Just a lot of feelings, right?
Right.
I'm not like crying or like wanting to kill anybody. I mean, crying,
a good cry.
But like, not like so sad crying.
No.
I
wouldn't say that I'm sad.
Yeah. Yeah. But just crying in that I cry. So, but yeah. All right. Just preparing for everything on the horizon.
Right.
Because the fall is coming. It's upon us. So
these kids are about to go back to school.
Yeah.
I've definitely been, on some waves of emotions. Just like,
as far as that?
I mean, just like with all of the things going on in life right now. So like I said, not necessarily bad things, but, preparing, reevaluating things, just trying to make different transitions.
That's what it is. It's the transition.
So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to post today, because we've been a little inconsistent the past probably month or so.
And we said we was going to get our lives together. and then
life was like, not yet.
Ha ha. Get me together? Handle me? Who gonna handle me?
Going on the straight and narrow. Okay? So, yeah.
So, updates.
We're going bi-weekly.
We are going bi-weekly. So, we'll be coming to you every 2 weeks with new stuff. We'll still be posting in between and trying to, like, maintain that. But our recording schedule is getting crazy. Our lives are getting crazy. So, we are trying to figure out the best way to handle that. And right now, it is going to be releasing new episodes bi-weekly instead of weekly. We love you. And we hope that you enjoy seeing us on a weekly basis, but we're going to have to just scale it back a little bit.
Yeah.
There's only a certain amount of time in the day.
Right.
And we got to work within that. And we are whole moms.
Right.
On top of all the other things. So.
Yeah. So last time we talked about parenting styles.
Yes.
Which had us thinking
that we are privileged. Like in all the difficulties that we have, we still have certain privileges and we recognize those. And so that's why next episode, because we was going to try to do it today, I'm going to be real with y'all. We had planned some time for the day. Things got away from us. So we was like, okay, we have a finite amount of time. Let's just do updates and let people know what's going on. So yeah, we want to discuss that next episode. We'll talk about privilege. And even when you like feel like, oh, well, I'm doing this by myself or I this, I that. I think there's still like certain privileges that we all have in parenting, right? And so we recognize that like the parenting styles that we have require a certain amount of time, a certain amount of consistency, a certain amount of availability that may not be accessible to everybody.
Right.
Among a few other things. Right. But yeah.
So if you guys can also think of some ways in which you have privileges, just feel free to comment below.
Yeah, drop it below.
Let us know. Maybe we can discuss that next
Incorporate it into the next epi.
Yeah. My friend has something crazy.
Yes, it's not crazy. Okay, so my some of the families, some of the parents that I work with, I pose a scenario to them. I usually do like scenarios or like quick role plays or whatever to help us get into stuff. And one of the themes that week was confrontation versus criticism. And first, like, people feel like criticism was better than confrontation because, I feel like confrontation has like a negative connotation culturally.
Yeah.
Right? People feel like it's automatically going to be an issue if you're confronting somebody.
Let me ask somebody about that.
Right. Okay. But really, like, criticism is coming at someone in a negative way most of the time. Like, if you're criticizing.
It's constructive.
Right. It can be constructive. But most of the time, the definition of criticism is just like being like, well, you. Right? Whereas there are ways to confront things without being hypercritical or with just like our focus with that was just like letting your needs be known. Right? So explaining what your needs are, recognizing whatever the other person has going on, but explaining, maybe how your needs aren't being met and what you need moving forward. So one of the examples I gave them it was two women. So it was like, you are baby mama and you are girlfriend. And, you're dropping. I said, okay, no, we're going to go with what they did. Because I said one thing and they did something totally different. But it's okay. So they did, I dropped my daughter off. She's young. Let's say she's 7. But when she comes home, her hair is styled very differently, and her clothes are like clothes that I don't approve of, that are too grown.
Okay.
And I don't like that, and it's the girlfriend that is doing it. And for whatever reason, right? And because obviously the obvious answer is to talk to dad, right?
To me, because I'm already ready.
Exactly. The obvious answer is to talk to dad about it and let him handle it and address him. But for whatever reason, we can't address dad. we have to have a conversation with the girlfriend.
Why can't we address that?
Because I don't know, okay? Because I wanted to give them the opportunity to talk to the
two
girlfriend.
Women. First of all, what is the relationship between the two women?
I don't know.
Has it been rocky?
You don't even really know her. Let's say you don't even really know her like that. But you just know every time. And that was the thing, too. Okay, so I want to hear what you would say first. And then I'll talk about some of the stuff that got brought up before we close out.
Okay, so I feel like personally, and I'm trying to think, like, would this be a verbal conversation? Would this be a text message? Like, how have we been communicating? So maybe it would start with a text message. And maybe asking, like, hey, do you have a minute to talk?
Okay.
Or just go ahead and send in the text. I don't know which one I would do. I feel like maybe I would do either or. But if you don't really know the person, maybe just say it in the text. I'm not giving anybody any type of... This is
what you would do.
This is what I would do. I'm not telling you what you should do. Depends on who you are. I feel like I'm pretty good with... expressing myself through a message, a text message. So I would probably say something like, hey, I appreciate you for, helping out with taking care of my child. However, I don't approve of her, wearing A, B, C, and D. You said, what about the hair? It was just different?
It was like too grown or whatever. Like maybe you sent her over there with some balls and she came back with it pressed and swinging.
First of all, don't press nobody's child's hair without permission. Don't press it, don't perm it, none of that.
Yeah, don't make changes.
So I guess with that part, I would just say, hey, for future reference, just ask me before you, alter the state of my child's hair.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would be nervous about sending a text because I wouldn't want my tone to be misconstrued. So I would probably want to have it in person. Let me tell you what these fools did. I love them also. I love the parents that I work with. But she was like, so I just wanted to talk to you because I noticed that, like, I would drop her off a certain way and then she'll come back with, like, different clothes on or her hair looking different, and I don't really want her walking around looking like a little hoe. So,
well,
I was like, we were really close.
Very close. For her to be looking like a little hoe.
And she was like, yeah, so just, keep her in whatever I send over here.
I know a lot of people just send them back in whatever they came in.
Yeah. But yeah, I would probably address it very similarly. I feel like I would definitely mind my words, because once I say that she's looking like a little hoe, then
that just
and so the other person is going to take that personally.
Yeah. Yep.
And then that just sends everything left.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents that I was working with, they was like, oh, it ain't no way. First of all, this is an issue between two women. So they was like, so it's no way for it to even end good. Second of all, what can she even say?
Like, you know what? Like, if I'm sending the message, I would probably send it in the group to dad and the girlfriend. So let's make sure we are all on the same page. So if I can't just address dad, I feel like dad does need to be in the know. So let me go ahead and send a group message.
I feel like I'll be trying to think about how I would want somebody to say something to me.
Right.
And I wouldn't mind getting it straight up, but like, watch yourself.
Yeah. You got to be so selective in the way that you talk to people. Yeah, I feel like that can be said without having to be rude. And hopefully the other person wouldn't get rude or take offense to that.
Yeah.
That's also why I feel like maybe that is a conversation to have with everyone.
It's definitely, in that situation, definitely talk to dad.
Yeah.
But it was a made-up thing that I was just trying to bring a conversation to the table.
Because I would say typically the baby mom is going to be the one that, oh, you ain't have to do all that. You know, so let me have this conversation with both so nothing is misconstrued. Like, everybody hears the whole conversation. And, you know, if I feel like I say something and it's not offensive and I thought I would have gonna say what I was going to say or text, I really don't even care about the response.
That's real. That's real. A few things that I want to bring up before we close that came up in that conversation with that particular confrontation. One was like the role of, you know, the baby mama versus the girlfriend, and how it usually turns into exactly that, the baby mama versus the girlfriend. And I was like, well, it doesn't have to be that. But a lot of people basically brought up that there's often some insecurity in the girlfriend because the baby mama has the baby, and so her like place is solidified, and so there's automatically going to be insecurity brought to the conversation on the part of the girlfriend. And like, maybe she's more likely to be offended because this woman has a solidified space in this man's life, and maybe like they're in a new space and they're trying to figure out their relationship and blah 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 blah. And I was like,
I don't know if insecurity would be the word, but I mean, I do feel like it's like when you are the girlfriend, like you have to kind of know your place.
Facts.
And maybe that should be discussed beforehand.
Of like what your role is with this child.
Yeah.
So
like, what things do you feel comfortable with me doing?
Girl, this is why I'm a fan of meeting the girlfriend, or, you know, like as the baby mama meeting the girlfriend, or as the girlfriend meeting the baby mama, because I feel like that's a great conversation to have, and a necessary conversation.
Right. Like, I was thinking probably like yesterday or like recently, like how people feel about like if the girlfriend posts the child. And it could be like a whole family situation. I feel like even with that, like, let's have a conversation about it, because, you know, like dating someone, like I'm new to this, dating someone who has a kid that you guys do, you know, things together, like as a group, everyone you know, does things together. So what if we are taking pictures, and what if, you know, one day we decide to take them? I do feel like, you know, I want to get the mom's permission.
Right. I think that is, huge and it's important to be having those conversations and for those doors to be open.
Right.
Like, me personally, I prefer to meet the other parent before I meet the child. But it doesn't always work out that way. That's fine, whatever. But I also, like, and maybe if I'm not able to have those conversations with the other parent, like, then I'm having the conversations with my significant other of, like, okay, what do you think that, you know, the other parent will be comfortable with or whatever. Because as co-parents, those need to be at least be conversations that y'all are having, even if the other significant other is not involved. Like, okay, I'm dating someone, you know, what do you need as far as this is concerned? Right. And as far as, like, them meeting our child. The other girl, communication. And sometimes these conversations are tough, right? Yeah. But again,
but it might not be as tough as you think, like, once you have them.
True. And focusing on what you want to gain from the conversation and clearly expressing your needs. Because for me, I always try to remember, like, okay, why am I having this conversation? What do I want to say here? What do I want to gain? Like, on the other side of this, what do I want it to look like? Right. Because if you get caught up in, like, the way somebody said something, or, child, it's over. There was no point in even starting the conversation because now we in a totally different spot. Right. And then we arguing about this tiny dumb thing that don't even really mean nothing in the big scheme of things.
I also think it's important to consider, like, the relationship of the two co-parents. What are their boundaries like? What types of conversations do they have? What type of respect do they have for each other? Because sometimes that's great and sometimes it's not. Yes. You know, you might have relationships where the two women can communicate better, or the two men can communicate better than the parents.
Actual co-parents, yeah. And that's, and, like, as much as we want to be like, that ain't my business, right? It is. Like, if you want to be in a relationship, you are joining this team. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not just, hopefully, you're not just dicking around, right? You are, like, if there are kids involved and you're meeting kids, then, you know, maybe you need to be considering what this is going to look like. So that's a question I like to ask early. Like, so what is your relationship like with your co-parent?
Child, because one thing I've learned, when they hate the other co-parent, that's difficult for me.
It is. It's hard.
That's difficult for me because why? Now I need answers.
Exactly. I need to know exactly what's up. And granted, some people have a perfectly good reason to dislike the person that they had a child with, but sometimes we got to get down to the nitty gritty, because why are these feelings still bubbling here? Like,
you know, I read something a long time ago, several years ago, and it said, you know, everybody's always trying to give advice or whatever, but I will say that this has been real in my situation. It was like, basically, don't date people with kids under 5.
Why?
Because typically there's a lot of, like, back and forth between the two co-parents.
As far as, like, beef, or, like,
I think there's a little bit of everything. Beef, like, feelings.
So it's like they haven't necessarily figured out, like, okay, yes, they're officially over, or like they're separated, but maybe
figuring things out with the kid.
Yeah.
Whatever. I feel like, you know, honestly, about that time the kid is starting to go to school and different things like that. So that's a lot of different transitions and things to figure out. Yeah. That could be a lot.
It could be.
But I mean, some people are down for the ride and they can do all of that. Yeah. And it works out just fine. But
I think it does depend on how long the breakup has been in place. Because, like, for me, we had broke up like a smooth 2 months after Lay was born. So, I mean, I also wasn't in any serious relationships because I just wanted to focus on parenting. But I could see how like emotionally just dealing with the BS and like figuring out how to co-parent,
right,
what that looks like. Yes.
I feel like it's hard anyways, like whether you're because like a young kid, like whether you're together or not, like you're trying to figure how this is going to work.
Yeah.
Like this is a big life change.
Yeah, it does take
people
change to get into the swing of things.
Yeah. Now y'all are not just dating. Now you got to raise a whole kid together.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the thing is like not even just the co-parenting piece, but like you getting involved with someone who's that early in the parenting stage or like their child is like, what is having been on the other end of that and being in a relationship with someone who had a 3-year-old, like immediately I became a mother.
Right.
And I was not necessarily ready for that. And if I had been who I am now, I probably would have taken things a little slower. But I was like, this baby needs me.
And you got to know yourself and you got to know your limits because, I mean, it's easy to fall in love with kids.
Facts.
They're kids.
Right. They're adorable, especially when they're that little. They're not even that annoying yet.
Right. I loved all the kids. So, yeah.
I feel you. All right. Well,
know your limits.
Yeah.
Know yourself.
And
learn
communication is key.
Right.
Communicate.
Listen.
Y'all.
Listen to understand, not to respond.
Honey. Because that be me sometimes. I'll be like, oh, you said something wrong there. I'm just going to wait for you to wrap up your sentence and then I'm going to
You don't even hear nothing else after that.
Oh, well, first, let me let you.
And you got to evaluate those parts of yourself that get so defensive. Like, was this person, like, communicating in a non-effective way? Or did I take it personal because of some stuff that I still need to work through, okay? Self-evaluate.
Honey. Because most of the time it has everything to do with you and very little to do with the other person. So think about what triggered me in this moment. Okay. Why did that trigger me?
So, communication. We're thinking about privilege for next time.
Yep.
Comment below. What are your privileges?
And how would you handle that scenario?
Let us know.
Also,
be for real also.
Yeah, keep it real. That's what I be having to tell my parents. Like, no, be for real now.
Like, how would you really handle it?
Yeah, because they be trying to get like, oh, well. And I'm like, nah, that ain't what you would say.
Yeah.
Stop. But, all right.
Don't let it keep happening, though. Because it might get a little disrespect.
Right, but let's be real so we can address the real.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
Okay, y'all. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
We coming at you with that good.
See y'all later.
Bye.